Welcome to Tools of Argument. In this lesson, we are going to briefly consider various helpful tools and elements of an argument. You will be able to use these tools when working on Project 3, which is your public multimodal document. I should clarify that we're using the term argument here, but you shouldn't really think of it as either picking a side or trying to win something. We're using argument here to mean presenting a main idea and at your thesis statement and getting people to accept it or act on it. And that's really what Project 3 is about, presenting your research in order to either inform a group of people, have them change their minds, or have them act on it. This lesson is going to cover four main tools of arguments, types of arguments, rhetorical appeals, visual rhetoric, and common ground. It's going to be pretty quick, but I'll point you to some more resources where I can. First of all, the types of arguments. There are several main types of arguments. Arguments of fact, definition, cause, evaluation, and proposal. Arguments of fact look at whether something happened or not and provides evidence to that end. For example, researchers are looking into whether a loss of the sense of smell and taste is a symptom of COVID-19 or not. Arguments of definition try to understand the nature of something and how it is defined. In this kind of argument, for example, you're discussing whether something is or is not this thing or why. For example, you may need to argue the definition of drugs when looking at the legalization of marijuana. Argument of cause looks at what caused something to happen or what results may come from an event or a situation. For example, you may have researched the results of immigration policy on the prices of produce at the supermarket. Arguments of evaluation look at the quality of something and use criteria of evaluation to make a judgment on it. For example, you could discuss if virtual learning that you're doing right now provides you a decent education in the various subjects you're taking. Finally, arguments of proposal, as you might guess, argue what actions should be taken. For example, after all the research on college students and success, you have learned that access to textbooks is a huge factor in student success, and so you advocate for making textbooks free. Knowing which type of argument you might do is really helpful because it demonstrates the purpose of your argument and the types of relationships between the various points you need to make. For example, an argument of evaluation needs to have specific criteria in order to judge something. So running through those criteria will be a big part of your project write-up. If you're doing an argument of cause, then you need to clearly show how A leads to B, which may then lead to C. Looking at your thesis statement to get a sense of what kind of argument you're making, and check out some of the tools listed here to learn more. The next type of tool are rhetorical appeals. Rhetorical appeals are really important. There's a lot of information out there on each of these, and you may already be familiar with these, so I will keep it brief. Okay, think of these as various strategies for connecting with and convincing your audience. Just about any kind of text or document or video or song, you name it, uses at least one of these and often more. Their names are actually Greek because we took them from Aristotle, but we have English words to use as well. Oops, I'm sorry. So let's look at each of these very quickly. Logos is the use of logic, reasoning, and evidence to appeal to and to persuade people. Academic writing loves logos, and it's an important tool for an audience that likes to think critically and logically. Logos often depends on data and careful lines of reasoning to convince the audience. Pathos. Everybody loves to hate on pathos, which is the appeal to one's senses and the emotions. But emotion is a strong factor in convincing people. Depending on the audience, you may want to lay it on thick or not, but bringing in a good story or powerful images or videos, even an evocative song, can go a long way in getting your audience to pay attention. Ethos. You've got to be credible and trustworthy if you want people to listen to you. You've got to find ways to show yourself as credible to your audience. For some people, that might mean research data. For others, that might mean a connection to that community or a shared set of values. Finally, Kairos. Kairos is an appeal to the time and the timeliness of your topic. Being able to connect your topic to current events or issues gives your argument and research an urgency or importance. We use rhetorical appeals a lot without even realizing it, but being more conscious of these elements is important for writing a strong document. You will also want to analyze other examples of the genres or types of formats that you're planning to use and see how they work with these appeals. For more information on these, you can check out the resource listed here. Next, we want to talk about visual rhetoric. Visual rhetoric is the way things look, the way the images and the visual elements that are used and how they affect the way that a message is received. Aspects such as font, colors, the background of a video, the lighting, the photos and images chosen, the use of emojis or not, the way that words appear on a page or a screen, these and more are all elements of visual rhetoric. The readings for week 12 give you more information on these aspects, but keep in mind that they form a powerful tool for argument as well. And if you're doing a video or a podcast or something with audio, you'll want to consider the auditory elements as well. Choice of music, the way a host or presenter speaks, the quality of the sound effects, these also can be rhetorical choices. Okay, so there are some resources to kind of give you more information on some of these things. Finally, common ground. Finding common ground with your audience is really important. Famous scholar Kenneth Burke talks about the importance of identification, which he understands as being able to understand the other person's point of view and taking it into consideration when trying to reach them and move them. Essentially, you're identifying with them on a certain level. It is important to remember that we share more in common than not, and finding common ground to build our argument is valuable. All right, so that was a fast run through of all the different tools to consider when developing your project. Which one sparked ideas for you? What do you think you'll try to use more deliberately? Tell us about it in the Sakai forums for this topic. See you later, guys.